Good evening, everyone. Hi, we're just giving it a minute or so to begin as some of you are still popping in. Lots of people coming in today, this evening, for some of you this afternoon. Very good. We'll just give it one more minute as some of you are still jumping on. Happy to have all of you on board. Thanks for joining us. I'm going to give it just one more minute. While you're waiting, if you have any questions, the chat box is open. Carolina is on the keyboard ready to take all of your questions. I'm going to try to get to all of you and all of your questions, and hopefully during this presentation, we will answer as much as possible. Like I said, if there's anything missing, any information you want us to talk about, please write it in the chat box, and Carolina will get that answer to you, and she'll also give me a few of your questions as they're coming along as well. All right, everyone, if you're a pre-health, pre-med student, or even a recent graduate and you're looking to bridge the language gap in healthcare, you're definitely in the right place. Welcome to the Shadow Abroad Open House, and I want to introduce you to this wonderful opportunity that is the Spanish and Shadowing Doctors in Latin America. This program is definitely for you if you are a pre-health and pre-med student. Before we dive in, I'd like to introduce you to the team here today. Carolina, hola, Caro. There she is.
Hi, everyone.
She is helping me in the background. She is my my guru, my technical guru. I don't do much more than a mouse. So she's helping me out with everything in the background. And also here with me this evening is Michael. Michael is an alum. Hola, Mike. ¿Cómo estás? He just finished the program, actually. He was a student, a former student, now an alum of the Shadow Abroad program, and he went to Chile and Argentina this year. So he's going to tell us a little bit about his experience a little further on in this presentation. And me, well, my name's Patty. I'm the program director. A little bit about me. I come from a family of immigrants who moved to Canada. My parents struggled with the language barrier, and it wasn't because they didn't want to learn or try to learn, but you know, working two jobs, raising a family, leaving their country behind isn't really easy. They tried and they did a little bit, but I was the person who helped a lot. I was that little translator and interpreter that went with them everywhere. And because of this experience, I guess this has made me passionate about helping future health professionals with that language barrier and overcoming those issues. So enough about me. Let's dive into our program. I want to tell you a little bit about the Shadow Abroad story. Okay. So our first program was back in 2002, and we had a small group of students. We called them the Chicago Hope Group. Right, exactly. If some of you or maybe parents out there who knew back then, inspiration from the TV series Chicago Hope back then. Since then, we've seen hundreds of students participate in this program, and we're so proud of the impact that we can make with this program. We've helped so many healthcare professionals learn to communicate directly with their patients, minimizing the dangers that come with the language barriers in healthcare. It's so important to us because not only are a lot of the staff like me from Latino backgrounds and we understand the need, but we also hear every day about those difficult situations that happen because of miscommunication. It's not only to help the immigrants, but it's also to help the future health professionals. I talk to former students a lot in my everyday life, and not too long ago, a few months ago, I was talking to a student who's already graduated, is already a practicing physician, and she was telling me, like, Patty, I get it now. You know, it's a burden off of my shoulders when I can say I was able to communicate, I did everything I could do. And at the end of the day, when I'm going through that in my head, it's just, you know, it alleviates my work as well. So it's a full, you know, 360-degree situation where we're going to be able to contribute to that relief, right? Talking about why language matters in healthcare is really important to us because when a healthcare provider, like my slide here says, can talk to a patient in their own language, it really makes the patient feel welcome, a welcome part of the community, right? Not just anyone, but yes, you are welcome. We care. We want to reach out to you. And that direct communication really builds a bond with the patient. I mean, I think it's great to have interpreters and gadgets that can help out in many situations, but there's nothing like being able to connect directly. And think about it, you know, when we're ill, when we're not feeling so great, we feel very vulnerable. And being able to remove the burden of that miscommunication at that particular time, I think is priceless, invaluable. So for medical professionals that learn Spanish, it opens the doors to helping entire communities, right? We always say one of you that learns the language can help thousands. Meanwhile, while an immigrant can learn Spanish, they're really only helping themselves. So a Spanish-speaking healthcare provider can help so many people. And that's really a big part of why we do what we do, why Shadow Abroad is here. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the demographic realities facing the US today. Let's read our slide here a little bit. Doctors must face today's demographic realities, right? A Spanish-speaking doctor fills a critical nationwide gap, opening the doors of communication between a doctor and a patient. And this is a quote from the AMA Journal of Ethics. So if we think about it, it's not just us saying it. You know, it's something that is being recognized by the community, by the professionals in the area. And the US today is much different than it was a few decades ago, right? In fact, the US has the second largest Spanish-speaking population in the world. It's only a matter of time before you'll encounter a Spanish-speaking patient. So being fluent in Spanish isn't just a nice to have anymore. It's becoming a necessity. And in many areas of healthcare, it's what is required today. And I think we all remember the difficulties in communication we had during that little thing called COVID not too long ago. Just imagine how different things would have been if we had been able to communicate effectively. We all saw that the language barrier was something that really stood out, that made things even more difficult in a already impossible situation. So we've learned the hard way, and I think that, you know, all of you here today are in a position to contribute to solving that problem and bridging that language gap, right? So our mission is to prepare students and prepare future health professionals in healthcare. At Shadow Abroad, our mission, like I said, is to prepare you for the realities of tomorrow's America. Right? We've already got it today, but tomorrow it's growing. We provide you with the tools to become culturally empathetic. And what does culturally empathetic mean? Not only learning the language, but where it's coming from, why people do the things that they do, why they say the things that they say, and how do I reach that patient culturally in a more dignified way. Effective communication is critical in healthcare, and we want to equip you with those skills that you need to succeed in the journey of your medical profession, right? So let's talk a little bit about what is in it for you guys, right? What is this program bringing to the table? So the first thing we want to talk about is that you're going to have obviously your enhanced language skills. You're going to go through up to 3 levels of Spanish in 9 weeks. You'll have a deeper sense of that cultural empathy that I was talking about. You'll be able to understand how people live in these countries, what the customs are, and how you can reach them in a more profound way, not just, you know, with language that is in front of you, but really understand where these people are coming from. At the same time, you're going to be gaining some college credits to keep you on track for your graduation. If you're not able to use those credits immediately for undergrad, you can always save your transcript for grad school, and that's a wonderful way to advance or have a step forward already for the future. This is shadowing, and this is volunteering, and this is what you are going to be able to put all together so that you are learning the language in a clinical environment, okay? And those shadowing opportunities are scarce, we know, and we are able to provide that for you. So it's really checking off a lot of boxes for you. Obviously, it's a boost in self-confidence. And why do we say that? It's because you are pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone. You're leaving your country, you're leaving your support system, your friends, and venturing out into the world, looking for a new adventure and learning new things. And that is just going to add to that experience that you're going to have. You're going to build a network of friends. You're going to have travel stories of adventures together. And these are not only new friends that you make, but these are your future colleagues, people that you're going to pick up the phone someday and say, hey, can I get a consult? We'll talk to Mike in a few minutes, and he'll probably be able to tell you what that relationship is like. It's an intense few weeks together where you will make friends and relationships with people that are long-lasting bonds that are really important, okay? The other thing we also want you to keep in mind is that the program touches on the double AMC competencies. Developing these core competencies is crucial for aspiring medical students. These qualities are essential for the success of the medical profession. And the Association of Medical Colleges has identified several key competencies that medical schools are looking for in applicants. The Shadow Abroad program gives you the opportunity to develop a lot of these skills, and participating in this program won't just equip you to be the best healthcare professional you can be, but will also highlight these qualities. And we understand that is important for all of you as well. So by participating in the Shadow Abroad program, not only are you gaining the valuable experience that you need, but you're also building a foundation for those skills that schools, medical schools, are looking for. Okay, and like I said, it's not difficult to reach us, but it's also really informative to be here, to hear it from us, the staff, but more so to hear it from your peers, right? Someone who's already done the program. So I want to welcome today Mike again, and I want to introduce Mike from a recent graduate of UT Austin. Good evening, Mike.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks for being with us. Thanks so much for being with us today. Um, Maybe we can start with you telling us a little bit about why you chose the Shadow Abroad program. What was it that initially drew you to this program?
Yeah, for sure. I had worked in a hospital throughout my undergraduate years before graduating, and it was kind of in a city where it was a very high population of Spanish immigrants. And I guess actually I worked in the emergency room, and I would say probably around 90% of the people that came in were Spanish speaking. There's a lot of like cultural barriers, a lot of language barriers that I saw while I was working there. And I grew up speaking Spanish in home with my parents, and I still had a hard time trying to make these patients feel, comfortable. It's you're these patients are coming in and it's like at their most vulnerable state, like you said. And it was something that I didn't know where to learn that from. And this opportunity kind of fell into my lap, and I couldn't think of anything that was better to be thrown into to learn how it really is, where they're coming from, and how to, you know, navigate those situations a little better in a different language.
Absolutely, absolutely. You said that, you spoke a little bit of, well, not a little bit, you spoke Spanish at home, but you still felt that there was room to grow. Tell us, for those students who are advanced or heritage speakers, what is that like? What does that look like? Because our program caters to students of all, levels. From very beginners, we have students, who arrive saying "hola" and that's about it. And then we have students like you, Michael, that are heritage students who've learned to speak Spanish at home and have practiced it. Yet you were here for 6 weeks and you took, lots of classes, and you were able to also advance in your language skills. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was something I was kind of worried about initially. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to learn as much as I wanted to. And I was actually really surprised that the classes are different there. It's not like the classes that we take here in high school. The Spanish literature, whatever AP classes y'all probably took, or whatever your background is. Because like you said, I was surprised by how many people came in with zero Spanish knowledge, and some of them were advanced. And it's not just about learning Spanish, it's about navigating conversations. And I remember in Chile, especially, my professors would sit us down and we would talk about not just, typical conversations that you would have in your Spanish classes in high school. It's more, let's talk about politics, let's talk about things that are about love, about your family, about death. It's just how to talk about things that are actually worth talking about when you get to that level. And especially if you're an aspiring physician, you're not going to be talking about what you want to eat at a restaurant. You need to know how to handle situations that are a little more heavy. And that's exactly what we did. And I was really surprised by that. So that's
Wonderful, wonderful. So you feel that you're able to hold, a really more in-depth conversation with your future patients. And tell us a little bit about how you became more confident in speaking since you were immersed in the culture, like a 24/7 type of situation, perhaps not as you would be taking a class in the United States.
Yeah, it's different. And I can speak on this more for the other people that are in my group. But even for me, when I speak Spanish at home, it's completely different to leave your house and have to order your groceries in Spanish, have to talk to your Uber driver in Spanish, how to, you know, everything you do is in Spanish. And it can be a little overwhelming, but it's the best way to learn. So we were kind of just thrown into it and we all had to figure it out. And that's, I think, where most of the learning happened for sure.
Were you able to see like growth as well in your classmates? Like,
Absolutely.
when you met somebody and they weren't very confident, and then when you left, they were a lot more confident or able to speak?
Yeah, there's friends that I made early on that they had no background in Spanish whatsoever, and they were freaking out. And by the end of the trip, they would be ordering, they were talking more Spanish than I was when we would go out, and they were ordering all the food, and they were super comfortable. So it was really surprising. Yeah, for sure.
Great, great. I'm just going to open the screen here. I'm trying to. Was I able to, Carolina? Yeah, okay, super. Just so that we have a better image of Michael who's talking here instead of just flashing that presentation. Yeah, so it really happens really quickly, the learning process, the being able to speak. And there's a lot of things that I think a lot of people are afraid of before they go into the program. Just concerns that they have when they're looking at a program. You were on the other end of this conversation at some point, Michael, yourself. Tell us about some of the things that were difficult for you when you were making the decision whether to travel abroad and to enter into this program. What were some of those things that you were um, a little bit concerned about?
Yeah, I think the biggest topic that I had to go back and forth was safety. I had a big concern about that. I just really didn't know what to expect. I know my parents had a bigger concern about it, and that was a big kind of weight on my shoulders before the trip. But I remember when we got there, we were all kind of surprised because we're in places that are very safe. We were surprised by how similar it was as far as the feeling of safety to back home. Honestly, there's parts of Chile and Argentina, most of it felt a lot safer than I'm from Austin, Texas, and I feel are safer there than walking around at home here. So it was that
Yeah.
was that was
Yeah, I think that that's a big concern for a lot of the family members that probably watching this as well. Talking about that with your family and saying, hey, I'm just going to go off into these South American countries, hundreds and hundreds of miles away. And yeah, that can be very concerning. So I'm glad that you were able to feel that way. All of our schools are in upper middle class neighborhoods, of course, to local standards, but we take care of that, and that's a big part of making sure that students are safe and they're able to navigate the cities as well. Um, what was the application process like for you? Did you find it difficult? Was it smooth sailing? Did you feel that you were supported and had the information that you need while you were applying to the program?
I feel like it was pretty smooth sailing for me. I'm not sure about for others, but I feel like it was really easy to reach out to anyone that was part of the program to find any questions that I had. You guys sent out the list of documentation that's needed, and it was pretty and all the deadlines, so it was pretty easy to follow, I feel like. I can't speak for if you're trying to transfer credits or not because I didn't do that, but I don't think anyone in my group had any problems with that whatsoever. So
Super, super. Okay, great. Now, um, we talked about the Spanish. We talked about, joining the program. Tell us a little bit about when you were there and the shadowing experience. What was it like shadowing doctors in Latin America? Was there anything that you remember, or a memorable moment that you can share with us?
yeah, in Chile, especially the doctors are super inviting, super welcoming. You kind of make friends with them while you're there. I know everybody's kind of nervous getting there, trying to figure out what the situation is gonna be like, but it just felt like you were kind of walking into your friend's room and they're just trying to teach you as much as you could. And it was a great learning. I remember you guys gave us some like little notepads to scribble down on, and I have mine somewhere. It's filled with all the Spanish terminology that I was writing down the entire time. So there's a lot of Spanish to learn, just how to interact with people. It was very interesting to see because it's very different from how we do it here in the US, but there's a lot of
Mhm.
similarities that you can make connections between. So yeah, a
Right.
lot of
So your Spanish learning experience doesn't only happen in the classroom, but then you're able to put it together as well when you're watching and viewing and observing, the hands-off medical shadowing, double AMC compliant, of course. Um, was there anything that particularly stood out to you? You were talking a little bit about Chile. The shadowing in each of the countries is quite different, and the idea is that you get a little bit of a taste for different ways of practicing medicine. Can you tell us a little bit about the contrast that you viewed while you were shadowing both in Chile versus in Argentina?
for sure. I'm super grateful for the fact that in Chile we went to private clinics and we had individual time with different doctors, and in Argentina we were based more in a very big central hospital with a lot of medical students, a lot of residents, and it was a lot more fast-paced. Coming from Chile and then going to Argentina, the hospital scene is a lot different. It was a big switch up, but it was really cool because I think depending on what department you were in, you were able to see a lot more. You were able to stay. The doctors would invite you to stay hours afterwards if you wanted to see different procedures or different patients, and it's a big difference, but they both have their benefits, and it was very insightful.
I guess
So.
it's nice to see like different sides of the coin.
Trust. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
And what about the volunteering? You did some volunteering both in Chile and in Argentina. How was that?
The volunteering is some of my favorite parts of the trip for sure. I know there's parts in both trips that we went and got to hang out with senior citizens and talk to them. That is a true test for how much Spanish you're learning, and being able to reciprocate conversations. Also, we did some volunteering in Chile that was really meaningful, being able to talk to people that were impacted by a um, very disastrous event and going out and trying to help them. It was I know, I remember the bus ride back was silent and we were all just like talking or, thinking about what we were just experiencing. We would talk about it for days afterwards. And it was very, very enlightening, very impactful. So
Mhm.
those are
Yeah.
probably my highlights.
Yeah, volunteering is very meaningful and it's a big part of the program, because it's not only a way to give back to the community, but it also puts things in perspective for a lot of students. So it's great that you mentioned that, returning bus ride where you're all a bit silent and just taking it all in. I think it's also gratifying to be able to give back, but also you become a lot more aware of how, um, blessed we are with our lives. So that's a big part of this too. How would you say the being in the different countries, living in Latin America, gave you a different perspective on cultural differences and similarities and what things stood out for you?
I feel like a lot of the reasons that people come into the program were to understand how to override the cultural and the language barriers that you see in healthcare. But another thing, we learned a lot about the history of the healthcare systems in both countries and understanding there's completely different histories for each country and a completely different history in South America compared to what we have here. and people come into the hospital expecting different things, expecting a different interaction with your physician. And seeing that in different countries, it's different too. So seeing that was very, it completely changed the way I kind of approached when I was coming back to working here. And it was just approaching patients. It's a lot easier. You understand where they're coming from. It's more of, okay, like let me surround myself with what I experienced back there to, give you a better chance of having a more positive interaction with me right now. And yeah, that's something I think about every time I work. So for sure.
Great. Would there be any advice you'd give to somebody who's considering this shadow abroad program?
If you're able to go on this trip, I would definitely recommend it. It's not, I think the program has a great way of being hands off and then being there for you at the same time. And it's just a fun trip and you learn so much. And like you were saying earlier, being able to come into, if you do the program, come into it with a very open mind. And especially with making friends with other people, it happens so easily. Like I said, I'm still in contact with everybody that was in my group. And um, yeah, just come into it with an open mind and you're gonna learn so much. So I think that's key for sure.
Great. Thank you so much, Michael, for being here with us tonight.
Yeah,
I think that your words are very enlightening, and I think they'll help a lot of the students who are thinking about taking this program. And hopefully, we've answered some of the questions that were sort of burning there. But is there anything in the chat room, maybe a couple of questions that we can take, myself or maybe even Michael, Carolina?
Yes. Someone's asking actually about the financial part of the program and how does that work? And I know that that's something that we will be discussing.
Absolutely. Well, why don't we take it to the next slide then? And we're going to talk about financing because I know that always comes up. Financing, let me just share my screen again and we can, are we up and running, Carolina? Thumbs up? Okay, cool. So financing is something that is obviously a big part of doing this program. It takes a resilient person. It takes somebody who's determined, who makes a decision and wants to create a reality for themselves for this program to happen. 80% of our students are looking for scholarships and loans and that kind of thing. And we're happy to walk you through some of the possibilities. Through the Shadow Abroad Foundation, we have some partial scholarships that you are able to access and apply for, as well as a 0% interest student-friendly loan. Like I said, it's the Shadow Abroad Foundation is a not-for-profit organization. They have some funds available every year to help students that want to do this program. But there are so many ways of financing this program. And it isn't as expensive as a lot of the other Shadow Abroad programs out there, considering all of the impact it has on you as a student and on your future for applications to med school and all of that. So that's a big part of what we can do for you. If you are interested in finding out more about our program and about these financing options and others, you can write in the chat box information and your email address, and we will certainly reach out and provide that information for you. Also, we are a proud member of the AMSA Alliance. If you are an AMSA member, please let us know, and we can tell you a little bit about those benefits and some scholarships that are available for AMSA members as well. The other thing that Michael brought up, and I think that it's really important to address just one more time before the end of this presentation, is safety, because I am the mother of some college-age children myself. They're not children, I guess they will always be my children, but they're adults. And I can imagine for you parents out there what it's like when they're telling you, hey, I want to spend 9 weeks. Far away from you for summer. It is a difficult thing to fathom. And I thank Mike for letting you know from his perspective what it's like, because I can tell you that our schools are located in upper middle class neighborhoods. I can tell you all of that, but it's great that you hear it from somebody who's done the program, and somebody whose parents were, your parents, Michael, were quite concerned about your safety. I remember speaking to your mom a couple of times about that. And as a program, we are very concerned about these things, and we want to make sure that you understand that we will address all of these safety concerns for you and family members. Safety is our top priority, and we provide a comprehensive orientation session to prepare students. So we start orientations in January. We talk all about things happening with the program, documentation you need, and we also tell you a little bit about, what to expect, what to pack, what not to pack. And when you arrive at each of the locations, each of the schools will also give you information with regards to navigating the city. And there's always someone available if you have questions. We have WhatsApp groups. We have all sorts of ways to communicate with one another. So this will always help. But having said that, whenever we travel, there are a few principles that we have to consider, and that's whether we travel abroad to Europe, to South America, and even within the United States. And those things are leave valuables behind, stay aware of your surrounding, and use buddy system whenever you can. And I think that's the best way to stay safe and to enjoy your time. The program, just going to give you a quick overview, takes you a 9-week program for 3 countries, 3 Spanish courses. It includes medical shadowing and volunteering opportunities. You can do up to 60 hours, or at least 60 hours, I would say, because like Michael said, there's lots of opportunities to do extra shadowing. We get you as much as possible. Doctors are always offering some extra shadowing, so we always say a minimum of. And then there's the volunteering that goes along with that. Travel between locations is included, 2 nights of hotel stay where the bonding begins, right? I remember Michael came into a second location, so he had to wait around a little bit for students coming in from the other location, but that's where it started, right? That's where you get together with the other students and you start building those bonds that are so important. And there's also an opportunity to explore the cities a little bit, right? There's a half-day excursion that's included with every location, but there are so many other activities that we take you on, and we provide opportunities for you to be able to walk around and learn a lot more about each of the cities that you are in. I want to finish showing you a quick video, some images. I'm not sure if your cohort is here, but these are images of some of the students who've gone through our program. Perhaps Michael is going to see some of the places that he visited here. And it's really important to us that you understand that we are here to help. And the Shadow Abroad Foundation has that mission. We want to help bridge that language gap. And if you are a student and a future health professional, a recent graduate as well, and you want to take that step forward, say, I'm here for the full ride. I really want to be able to connect with my future patients in a different way, directly, creating a bond with them, understanding what they're going through from the perspective of a culturally empathetic vision. I want to provide healthcare with dignity. I think that's exactly what we're here to do. And if that is your thought, I think we align, and perhaps it's a good idea to explore a little bit about what we can offer you. If you are interested in this program, if you want to find out more about the program, please write in the chat box, info, and we will reach out. We will be happy to meet with you, with your family members. Perhaps one of our alum, like Michael, can get on a call with you and your family members if you want to ask more questions. We are happy to answer them. And it's a small program. We're kind of picky and choosy about the people that come to the program. I remember Michael said something one time and said, hey, do you guys do this on purpose or what? But tell us about that, Michael. I just want to give you the mic for a second. Why did you say that?
I remember we were all in Chile and we were all talking about how awesome our group was and all the connections that we made in between it. And we had told you that we like there's no way this isn't like the best group to have done this program before. And you guys all just laughed because you pretty much said that that's kind of how it goes every single time. And we were super surprised by that because we felt like we were super close. So I remember that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When we talk about aligning, when we talk about, selecting the right people for the group, we can take up to 20 students for every session that we open, but we don't always fill those 20 spots because we need to find people that truly align with the thought of taking that step, creating the opportunity to really care about what you're doing. You're getting a lot of things. Of course, you're going to be able to check off all of those competencies, and you're going to be able to write fluent in Spanish on your resume or application to med school, and all of those things are great. And I think they're a bonus. But we're looking for people who align. And if you are feeling it, give us a ring. Perhaps we can make it happen for you. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh, and our start dates for 2025, summer 1. Few spots available still for summer 1. Starts May 25th. We have a few more for summer 2 starting June 15th. If you're interested in any of those dates, I suggest that you send us a message as soon as possible. Our website, SpanishinMedicine.com or shadowabroad.com, will give you a lot more information. It was great to have you all here this evening. Reach out if you have any questions. We're here to help. Thank you, everybody. Buenas noches. Bye-bye.